It's your friendly neighborhood advisor here, Alexander Quinn, and today I'm going to be telling you about how to decide between real estate and general investing. Actually, in general, any type of investing, real estate also is a type of investment. So I guess I'll just kind of help you decide how to choose between the typical paths for also just starting up your own business that is not related to real estate or investing in, let's say, stocks, day trading, etc. All right, so first off, stocks, day trading, in stock investing and day trading. The main difference is day trading, you are trading stocks every day. Investing is where you leave it in for a while. Those are taxed a bit differently. It has to stay in for, I think, about a year before you cash out if you want to pay the investing tax, which is 15%. I think the other tax is depending on how much you make. If you're making big bucks, I think it's 45%. Not sure, but it's definitely a lot higher. Also, you get taxed in ways that are even heavier because you keep taking out, going in, taking in, going out. You do get to balance those out, but that's a different topic for a different time. Anyway, yeah, so investing, I'm going to be for investing. When I say investing, I mean stocks and I mean investment stocks, not day trading, because those are two different animals, are two entirely different strategies. For starting your own business, I'm just going to be speaking generally, like whether it be being a contractor, an entrepreneur, or starting a business with people underneath you, although those are entirely different animals. I'll just be, for the most part, saying that you're an entrepreneur that may or may not be doing contracting, which is a bit similar. You still kind of can run your own business, or you could be doing junk removal or whatever. And I guess that's also a contractor. And that you may have people hired underneath you, because those all kind of fall into a similar group. And the only way that's different is if you have a bunch of money at the get-go to just start your own business and jump in. But that's probably not. Anyway, so I'm just from that perspective, when I say start your own business, I mean entrepreneur, starting on your own, probably a contractor, maybe getting some people under you pretty quick, depending on how quick you can get some money coming in, or if you have some saved up to start going. For real estate, I'm going to be referring to just real estate in general. There are multiple paths, but I'll be referring to pretty much everything except for commercial. Commercial meaning buying, paying for renting out a store or something like that. Uh, the main difference, how to choose between these options is you want to take a look at how involved you want to be and what gains you want to get. Look at the returns for stocks. Usually, if you're just investing, typically, if you want to do no work on it, no research, not need any skill, well, I shouldn't recommend anything. But anyway, I have known that the S&P 500 is typically making about 10% per year. It's usually 10 to 12% per year. And even when the market's doing even when we're doing poorly, like during COVID, it does even better. So it's a pretty good hedge fund for some aspects. Small cap fund, S&P small cap makes even more. So it's great. But it's more volatile. There's more ups and downs. So if you don't have the stomach for it, don't do it. Otherwise, you'll probably jump out at a bad time, because you'll jump out when the ship is sinking instead of waiting for it to be saved inevitably. Anyway, you want to take a look at, are you okay with like the 10 to 12% gains or whatever you think you'll get from small cap? Or would you rather have a little bit more in real estate and be a little more active, a little more involved? And then I'll go into the different levels of activity there. And then if you want to be even more active, you have to, for starting up a business, that's tough. There's a lot of research. Maybe you have an idea already, but I don't recommend that unless you can answer more questions than, if you think you're ready, you're probably not. If you aren't sure and you're just kind of like, do this, hey, this is the best path moving forward, those are the people that usually are much more likely to succeed, because people just don't. It's if you look up the stats for how many people succeed after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, etc., nobody really succeeds at starting their own business. The people that say that they've got all the answers and that they have everything ready to go, I have never met anyone who has that attitude that actually ended up being able to answer all of the questions I had. Even when we sit down and think about it, I'm able to answer even the questions that I ask them about businesses that I've never thought of or heard of. Anything from delivering cannabis to have a party bus, etc. So it's just a whole bunch of different stuff, and they just don't really have the answers for just simple basic questions. I only have like 10 main questions when they start up, and they usually can't answer those and can't figure it out just sitting down, or even figure out when and how they're going to get those, when it just takes a quick Google search if you really don't know. But also, again, I've been able to answer the questions that they don't have answers to. I've been able to answer with a guess. not even guess, but just with like a logical deduction at the time. So usually people who think that they've got all the answers don't, and the people that are not certain are usually the smarter ones that are going to probably be more likely to succeed because they understand there's more out there. It's like Einstein said, the more you know, the more you know you don't know, or something along those lines. But basically, the more answers you get is the more questions you have, and that's how it is. The companies, businesses, etc., they keep growing. They have all these different ways that they can add on, and so if you think you have all the answers, then you do not have enough questions. Anyway, so and if you're worried, don't worry because that means you're on the right track. You just gotta figure out what's the smartest leap forward, if any, and just warm yourself up to whatever you're gonna go into. If you really want to take that route. But anyway, so that's a lot more work, but also the payoff can be that you sit back and do nothing and you make millions if you think that that's something that is for you. Anyway, so the least work is going to be the investment funds, assumably, if you're not managing it. You can try to look into what's going to do better or worse, but if you're doing an investment path, which means you're rarely changing funds versus day trading, well, the investment path is also going to be pretty much set and forget it for the most part. It's not a lot of work, and I wouldn't count on making more than the typical average because the whales, I mean, what are the chances you're going to be smarter than the average person out there doing stocks? And we're talking the average dollar. If 100 people go into it, then maybe all of them put in a couple of pennies or a dollar, or they already lost most of their money already. And the one person that's in there probably, the one person in there with plenty of money probably has been doing it longer than you. So you should probably practice with paper trading, etc. Look at, historical stocks and kind of figure out what guesses you'd make at that time and see how well that would have performed. And just kind of like, see if you have a knack for it. And after that, use some paper trading, which means you're using paper, pretend, and, monopoly money instead of real money, and see from there. But anyway, I think that for stocks you usually make about, we'll say, 10% on average for a safe conservative guess for investment funds. So that 10%, whatever you're doing in real estate, you should check in your area what the rent typically goes for and how much it typically costs to get a mortgage on the type of property that you want. And usually more rooms is better. Usually a better area is better, although it won't necessarily look that way on paper. But it's just because appreciation is one of the main ways you make money, and just there's a lot of factors actually. There's a lot of opportunity in higher class neighborhoods to increase the value through doing small, simple labor work. Um, I say small, simple. It's not usually that small and simple, but relatively, yeah. Anyway, so you want to look at what you think you can make in your area for real estate, and then you want to see if it's worth the work and effort to put into it versus the safe amount that the most likely safe amount that you would get from stocks, from what you think you would get from stocks, and then just kind of like weigh that out. And then if you're going to start your own business, then whatever business you're going to do, figure out how much you think you're going to make, how long it's going to take you to get your return back of the money that you put into it, and the time you're going to put into it, how much you value your time at, and just kind of see what is going to get your money back the quickest. Is usually it's called return on investment. So how long it takes you to get your money back is usually a nice guide to go by. You can also look at cash on cash and other things like that. However, I like to think of kind of return on investment because if you do return on investment, then you can potentially have infinite return on investment. For example, if you go into real estate and you buy something and then you rehab it, so you put in like 20K into it to get it fixed up, and then you can now take out a new mortgage to get that value back out of it. If you get more value out of it than the money you put into it, then you got your return on investment back within less than a year. And if you get even more money than what you put into it, that means you now have a house basically for free. And then you can use that money to get another property. That's called the BRRRR method. Typically, buy, rehab, refinance, rent, and then repeat. I don't know if that's part of it. And there's another step that I usually add in there that starts with the R. I don't remember what it is at the moment, but yeah, so those are your options. And then you can look into the BRRRR method and see if that's something you want to go into, or if you're just starting out, you don't have the experience, maybe you want to start with something safer like a duplex. I don't really like it because the return is lower, much lower than what I can get typically, but a lot of people find a duplex to be very convenient because you can live in one side and fix it up while renting out the other side, and a lot of people can rent out for close to what the bills cost. So you basically have a house for free right off the bat. And even if you're not into real estate, you might just do that for yourself anyway, to have pretty much free bills, and then the money that you get moving forward, you just put into stocks or whatever business you want to start up, etc. Anyway, so that's my recommendation. Just kind of weigh out the return on investment or whatever you want to use for your metric of the money that you're going to get back, and then determine how much work you're willing to put into it. If you hire a management company, then you can have them handle the properties for you, so that can be passive as well. Anyway, hope this helps someone out there. You all have a wonderful day.